The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. I have hats, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles, notebooks, you name it, I've got it. The description and the link for that will be in the description of this episode. Also, right now, if you use the promo code WELCOME, I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That's the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link, Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans, as it is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rant podcast. This is your special guest host, Fitty, and today I bring you a really, really great episode. It's called Our Story, Hired College Athletes, with a great panel of guests who are going to talk about their stories, coming from the colleges that they came from, what brought them there, and their journey along the way. Before we get started for this great panel of guests in this outstanding episode, there's a couple sponsors that I want to read off and let you know about them. Please check out all the sponsors in the pre-roll and the post-roll, as these are all small business owners who are wonderful, wonderful supporters of the Ride Home Rants, and especially what Mike is doing here with us. The first one is Buddy's Beard Care. Buddy's Beard Care provides premium men's grooming products at an affordable price. Products are made in Ohio, and Buddy's Beard Care supports local. The majority of their supplies are from other Ohio-based companies. Find them on social media at Buddy's Beard Care or online at www.buddysbeardcare.com. The second one comes from one of our guests today, Matt Landowski. Elevate your game with Sweet Hand Sports. Our sports gloves are designed for champions, providing the ultimate grip and durability. Achieve greatness with every match. Choose Sweet Hand Sports for the winning edge. Grip your victory at sweethandsports.com. And finally, one of our newest sponsors is Deemed Fit. Deemed Fit is first responder owned and operated. It's a design company to help first responders and veterans with mental health and physical health. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get 20% off. So definitely make sure you keep all the sponsors that we just talked about in the pre-roll and the post-roll. As we get into this episode, it's really exciting because a lot of our former guests have been college athletes. And tonight we talked about their story and where they came from and what brought them to that school, what they did there, and how those life lessons along the way shaped the person that they are. So without further ado, we're going to go through the guests. They're going to introduce themselves, tell you what college they went to and what year they graduated, because we're kind of all over the map with that, and then what sports we did in school. So I'll start. Everybody knows me, special guest host Fitty. Graduated from Bethany College in 2010. And I did 4 years of college football and 4 years of indoor and outdoor track. Matt Lando?
Hey, Fitty. Thanks for having me. This is Matt Landowski, graduated from Bethany College in 2012. Played football and had a great time there.
Okay, thanks, Lando. Dan?
Fitty, thanks for the invite. Dan Bolson. I'm a Eureka College grad from 2013. I was in college forever. No, I'm just teasing, but I did a year of college basketball. Played my eligibility out with football as well. So I switched the freshman year leap like some do, and went and played strong side defensive end.
Okay, thank you. Danny?
Thank you, Coach Fitty, for having me, man. I'm Danny Gilbert Jr., played at Bethany College, did football and Then I did track. Had a pleasure to play for Coach Fitty, crazy self at Bethany College. Thank you for having me, man. I finished in 2022.
Okay, thank you. Lauren?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Labarsky. I went to East Carolina University. I was there from 2012 to 2017. So I did that victory lap that everybody talks about. And, but I did track and field. I did through the javelin, the high jump. I was a multi-athlete, but I specialized in the jumps and throws. But yeah, I am a pirate in 2 different states. Pretty proud.
And rounding it out with the man, the myth, the legend, who's been a great panelist on all of our roundtables, Mr.
Hey, Mr. Askew, like 50 said, 50, you the man. I'm just another guy right now, brother. I'm trying to get to your level and your stature. But Mr. Askew, actually, I went to Alabama A&M and Elizabeth City State, graduated from Elizabeth City State in 2001, played football and played and ran track for a year.
Okay. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. So we're going to go through a bunch of great topics here. You guys can elaborate as much as you want, or you don't have to. But the first one is, Lando, we're going to start with you, and then go to Danny, and then Lauren, and then Mr. So the first one is, what was your major when you went to college? Matt?
I studied business administration, learned a lot of economics, accounting, all the good stuff, make you money. Hopefully.
How about you, Dan?
Yeah, so I was at the time, it was an individualized major in sports management, which was something that was a track that was gaining popularity at the time. It was a little bit of what we had at our school was individualized majors where you put a collection of classes together. So it was a little bit of a makeshift group of classes. So one of my biggest wins in college wasn't on the football field or basketball court. It was actually working with a group of folks on the advising team that we got sport management as a focal point within the business administration degree. So leaving now kids that go there can get a business administration degree with emphasis in sport management. So that was the major. And then I doubled with a bachelor's in communication as well, just to make sure that the individualized major wasn't the only thing I left with.
Gotcha. Okay. How about you, Danny?
I got my associate's degree in general studies of art at junior college. I don't know how I ended up studying Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat and all those great painters. And then I went to Arkansas Monticello Division II first, where I majored in social science, behavior, and criminal justice, studying the logic of psychopaths, serial killers, and stuff like that. And then I transferred to Bethany and majored in sports medicine.
Okay. How about you, Lauren?
So I did kinesiology, exercise science, as you can call like that physiology degree. That's what I was mainly studying back in the day. But I also had a sport science and business degree as well. So I was a double major between sport management and kinesiology. And it's so crazy because I don't really actually use any of that in my career now. But yeah, I definitely know how to train the body, be able to run a sport team. So sounds very familiar about what I'm hearing on the call.
Okay. And what about you, Mr.?
So my first, I was trying to do what Dan did, actually, but at that time we didn't have sports management at all. So I had major in business administration, and the concentration was in finance at that particular time. But when I went to Elizabeth City State, I still was majoring in business administration, but I was also doing physical education. So I was in between physical education, and at that time at the school, you had to teach from PE was set up where you had to teach from it. So I got to the point where I had all my electives and all them other core classes done, and then we had to go into the teaching part of that particular degree with the PE at the time, and I had to take the practice test. And let me tell you something, that sucker is a doozy. And needless to say, I finished my degree in business administration, concentration in management.
Gotcha. It's always interesting to hear what people, majored in school. And I say this, and I've worked in higher ed a long time. It's like 7 out of 10 people don't actually use their degree in their career field later on, just because, your degree leads you to a lot of pathways. I think that's the key, right? Getting the degree and then getting the work experience if you truly want to stay in that field. I got my degree in sports management. My degree at that time at Bethany was one of the hardest majors in the whole school, not knowing that when I went in until you dive into the curriculum. The curriculum is half business and it's half science. So not only am I taking like economics, finance, statistics, and things like that, I'm also taking anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, physiology class. So it was a doozy, that's for sure. So I'm always curious to hear that from people. The next one, it's gonna be kind of simple because I'll answer this question for Lando and Danny and myself, since we're all Bethany guys. But what division was your school? So Bethany was Division III. We played in the PAC conference. So we're gonna skip right over to Dan on this one. Dan, was your school D1, D2, D3, NAIA?
Yeah, it's D3. So Eureka, located near Peoria, Illinois, right on Interstate 74. When you're driving west in the west central part of Illinois is right where Eureka is located. Blink and you'll miss it, but it's a fun school, fun town, 5,000 person town, a small college right there, like a lot of D3s in that Illinois, Indiana, Ohio corridor. A lot of them have the same look and feel. You've all been there, you felt them. For you Bethany folks out in West Virginia, you know that look and feel too, from what I remember with the Barth boys from Eureka, who were after me a bit, but we watched them play through. The piece that's interesting on that D3 model is the conferences. There's so many of those schools have closed over the years, which is sad, but there's been a lot of small schools closed. So my school switched conferences like 4 times since I was there. So I've watched it go. I lose track sometimes of what acronym we're on this time, but right now they're still in where they're at with the conference I didn't play in, but it's a collection of Northern Illinois and some Wisconsin schools.
Gotcha. Okay. Lauren, how about you?
So my school was definitely figuring it out when I was at my university because we jumped conferences in the middle of my career. But we went from the Conference USA, which is kind of like the old A10. I don't know if anybody was following the conference, but and then we went to the American Athletic Conference. So we definitely got to see a little bit about around like the north and definitely the south. So we went all the way down to like South Florida, down to Houston, Texas. We were in Rice. So I've definitely been all the way up in Philadelphia, you name it, I've been there, but we mainly focus on like those kind of, I would say territories, but we would mainly, I would say when track and field, we really stayed a lot of central during the Carolinas, because I don't know if anybody knew this. North Carolina actually has the most Division I schools, which I was on a Division I team, and that has the most Division I programs in any of the states in the U.S. So I think there's like 12 Division I schools. Don't ask me to name them because I am definitely going to forget one. But yeah, East Carolina University was definitely figuring it out, but it was a cool school to go to.
Okay. And how about you, Mister?
So when I was at Alabama A&M at that time, we were Division II, and we were just getting ready to transition to D1 or 1AA, as a lot of people know it, in the SWAC. So right now they are in the lovely SWAC. And you guys know, your boy Deion Sanders was down there at Jackson State the year before, but that was in the SWAC. And when I went to Elizabeth City State, we played in the CIAA conference.
And what division was that?
Oh, Division II.
Division II. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So for the next one, we're going to start with you, Lando, on this. What was your best memory of college sports? So not college itself, but the sport. What was your best memory when it comes to?
I would say the practice is a football practice, because you can only play so many games, but I feel like if you go through the whole program every day, it's just a beautiful thing. So I enjoyed every practice. I tried to, at least, you know.
Okay. How about you, Dan? What was the best memory from college sports for you?
We'll be back after a quick break. If you want the most hilarious stories from military service, we're talking about shenanigans, pranks, mistakes that are funny. Check out the Camo Comedy Show podcast, available now on all podcasting platforms. And that's 2 M's in Camo, CAMMO. Check us out now.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to answer this, right? So I think if I go just high level, it's the emotion. And specific, it doesn't matter which sport you were in necessarily, but basketball was a completely different type of emotional draining than football was. But there's something about college football, and I'll just pick on it, right? I love college football. And there's something about sitting on your couch in your dorm room or your chair, whatever apparatus you have in your dorm room on a Saturday night after you've played, or a Saturday afternoon, and you are emotionally spent. You don't have anything left in you. Your body's all bruised up, banged up, depending on what position you played. You're feeling all the pain, and you're sitting there and you do not want to move. Like, all your friends are like, where are we going to eat? Where are we going to party? What are we doing? And you're like, just leave me alone and leave me with all the ice you can possibly find me, and I'll talk to you tomorrow at noon. So there's some really fun. If you win, it gets better than that, right? You heal quicker, but more quickly. But it's kind of one of those. I think the emotion and the way those emotions come out of you. And again, football, I love it because how many places can you legally just decleat somebody and not get in trouble for it, right? So why not?
Okay. How about you, Danny? What was your best memory of playing college sports?
My best memory of playing college sports. I don't mean to ruin the mood, but it was a moment where I came back from Miami. So my little brother had just passed away, and I had to fly back to Miami from West Virginia, and after I left his funeral that same night, I got on the plane and we had to come back because we was playing against Westminster that following week. And then Coach Arnold, his dad passed away. And then after the game, just during that whole week in practice, I was kind of leaning on Coach Arnold. I'm saying, like, even though his dad passed away, I was kind of leaning on him for some sort of comfort. And I want to say the best memory probably wasn't in practice. It was probably at the end of the game, seeing Coach Garvey give Coach Arnold the game ball, and then Coach Arnold just filled with so much emotion. He just ended up crying, and then the whole team just kind of rallied around him and stuff like that. And I just think like that was a wholesome moment for not only just Bethany football team, but for Bethany organization, to rally behind, a coach who means so much to the program. So yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, and Danny, I do remember when your brother passed away, and I am still so sorry about that. I remember you coming to see Coach Upton practice that day. So our condolences on your little brother, but we're glad that you're able to persevere, and that I know that hurt will always stay with you, but at least you remember the moment from that as well for yourself. So how about you, Lauren? You were the heck of the track athlete in college. What's your greatest memory?
Oh, I have a couple of them, but I would say there was one moment that I was traveling down to Birmingham, Alabama for our indoor conference meet, and I was coming off major injuries. And this one, I was actually high jumping. I was a high jumper in indoor and outdoor. Can't throw the javelin indoor. They don't have enough room for that. But I was actually coming off a really severe ankle injury that I was in a fracture boot. I had ligament in my ankle, which supports and holds like the weight bearing. I guess I had like a grade 2, grade 3 sprain to the point that I almost had to get surgery. And my coach was like, we really need you at this conference. We really we could use the points that you could put up because you are that talented. And he's like, do you want to compete? I just know that you're injured. And I'm like, hey, give me some time. Like, maybe I just won't practice and put a lot of weight bearing, but I'll do all the low impact stuff. And so I was doing that. I barely even practiced. And I remember my teammates were like, so you're going, are you nervous that you were going to compete without practicing? And then I just really was in tune with my mind, my body, and just the visualization of succeeding. And I kept saying, and it was this mindset, it was a belief that I'm no, I'll be fine. I'm just going to take off this fracture boot and I'm just going to jump my personal best. I'm not worried. And the people are trying to make me worry. And I'm no, I'm good. I'm going to be fine. And lo and behold, we get to practice the day before. And I do a couple jumps, I did 3 or 4 and I'm like, I'm good, I'm fine. I was super cool and calm. And then the next day I took that fracture boot off and I jumped a personal best and I got second at the conference. And the funniest thing about that, other than I took the fracture boot off, I jumped practically one of my best, that the name of the game is to not knock the bar off, everyone, when you're doing that jump. And
Yeah.
I was so eager to get off the mat because I nicked it. I cleared it, but it was wobbling back and forth that I was so hyper focused on getting off the mat that I knocked over the official.
Oh, shoot.
And I have it on tape and everything, and I bulldozed the official over on accident. So I was just so focused on getting off that mat that I didn't even see that the official was standing right there in clear daylight. So yeah, that was probably one of the best memories that I've ever had. Just like the mind over matter. If it doesn't matter, you don't mind. And I just took that fracture boot off. I jumped over the thing and I knocked over the official, but I still got the dub. So very
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. How about
awesome.
you, Mister? What's your greatest memory from college sports?
Oh man, I tell you what, I can share 2 of them real quick, man. The first one will come to mind, and this is amazing that I even can remember this, because as you get older, man, your memory really do get foggy from concussions. Concussions is real, guys. Okay, I just want y'all to know that. But just remember, 1994 at Alabama A&M, I get my first start running back, playing in the Georgia Dome, in Atlanta Falcons. That was coach came up to me, told me I'll be playing. I'll be starting, and I was starting as a true freshman. Something that at that particular time with that school hasn't happened in years, very very long time. So I was really thrilled about that, to get my first start when I was at Alabama A&M in the Georgia Dome, playing against Morris Brown. But the biggest one would be when my brother Ray Sean, he was at Elizabeth City State with me, and watching him run and score his first college touchdown, that was pretty emotional. I never really told anybody, or I even thought about it. You know what I'm saying? I really, told him, man. But I was just really, really ecstatic, happy to see him score. Because if you guys got little brothers or little sisters, they playing the same sport. You see them put the work in. You put the work in, but then to see them actually, all them fruits and labor, that the hard work and sweats and tear, and to be able to share that moment and see them do something great, it was really a great moment. So seeing my brother score that touchdown.
That's awesome. For myself on this one, Mister, you coached me for a couple years. Lando, you played with me. Dan, I didn't know you at that time, or Lauren and Danny, you see me only as a coach. But, for people who don't know, when I played football, I wasn't a very good football player. I tried hard. I did. You can ask Lando and ask Mister, but I only played in 3 games out of 40 in my college career. And I think the proudest moment for me for football was the last game of the season, my very last game, where at St. Vincent, and I got to play the last 4 plays of the game, and I got to be on the field for the kneel down as one of the personal protectors. And when it's your last snap and you're on the field for that, it's something you're really proud of. A lot of people can play in their last game, but are you on the field for your last snap, for your last game ever? And I think that was great. And then that kind of gave me the feeling that this wasn't a waste, right? I was there and I was able to accomplish it. And I would say in track and field is when I set the single meet record for events in a meet. So Lauren, I did 7 events in a mini meet. The javelin, the long jump, the shot put, 4x1, the 4x4, the 100 and 200. And, setting that record was great because it was something I was really proud of, and no one's ever still done 7 events in 1 meet in 1 day. So those are probably 2 things that stand out to me. Lando, we're going to go back to you on this one. What was the one hardest thing about being a college athlete, in your opinion? Lando, go ahead.
You got to stay focused. Academics, practice every day, game day. I mean, it's a job. and it's definitely commitment. And when the season's going on, it's a grind. So, I mean, not everybody understands that, but it's like, unless you actually are involved in it and do it. Even in the summertime, you got to work out every day, stay in touch with your coaches, and then you're back at school again early before all the other students. It's definitely a special thing, man.
For sure. Dan, what would you say was really the one hardest thing about being a college athlete for yourself?
Man, it's hands down for me. Like the February off season, intense training sessions. When my alarm clock would go off at 5 a.m. or 4:50, and I had to be over there to do stretches at like 5:15 in our Reagan Gymnasium, which Eureka College is famous for. Ronald Reagan graduated from there. So the Reagan Gym, I'm in there doing calisthenics at like 5:20 in the morning, and it's like in my junior year of college. And there's 6 feet of snow on the ground outside, and I'm not getting paid to do it. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? But I said it because I love it, right? We all do the sports, we love it. But there's definitely a few moments when you're laying there on the ground and you're just like, man, like I might be nuts right now. Like I had to walk over here with like tennis rackets on my feet because there's so much snow on the ground. But no, it was fun. But I do remember a lot of cold walks to that gym, man. And I was a guy that I refused to take more than I had to because there's so many dudes in the locker room. And we had smaller facilities, so your stuff's just sitting out, and I'm like, hey, I'm wearing what I'm going to wear over there to work out. I'm going to walk back. I live relatively close to the gym, so there was some cold post-workout walks when you're just drenched in sweat head to toe, not a dry thread on you, and you're worn out. And it's like in Illinois weather, like -10 wind chill, and you're like, yeah, this is commitment.
Yeah.
For sure. Danny, what would you say was the one hardest thing about being a college athlete for yourself?
Something hard. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know.
You enjoyed
Probably
the whole thing, huh?
Oh, yeah, the whole
I mean,
thing.
You enjoyed the whole
It
thing.
left you wordless. It left you
I mean,
wordless.
okay. Hard thing. I would have to agree with Mr. Dan here, being in the snow. My first time playing in snow, coming from Miami. I remember my first snow practice. Actually, Coach Gary almost had to come snatch us out of the locker room, all the Florida guys, because we was not trying to come out of the locker room. It was way too cold, man. And then running outdoor. It was, I think it was like 50, maybe 50, 55, maybe. And we were not trying to run. We were not trying to come out of the van. Yeah, the van probably almost ran out of gas because we had the van on, and we had the heat on, sitting in the parking lot.
All right, Lauren, how about you? What was that one hardest thing about being a college athlete?
I would say staying emotionally balanced. Since I am like the only female on here, I'm going to talk about my emotions. But
I'm married to a therapist, so go for it.
But I could say that the emotional battle from like between the academics, and I was also training us for the heptathlon, so I had 7 events and having to have 7 practices practically a day, and also double majors with weights in the morning, and then also recovery and trying to like make sure you're properly planning for your future, and then the whole college aspect, being a real student, just like being a student, being a spectator at the events, trying to feel like that you can fill all of your cups. And in the end of the day, it's not doable. And for me, it's like I just really want to become the best version of myself in every aspect, but sometimes I understand there's only so much you can do and you have to sacrifice. And that was a really tough thing for me to like understand. And I've had some moments on the high jump mat with my old coach, Coach Blaney. I know you're going to listen to this podcast after I tell you that I was on it. So here we are. I'm giving him a shout out. Coach Blaney, He was my high jump coach. He's retired. He actually retired my senior year. And he really was looking out for me emotionally. He could just tell that, I needed a day that he's like, you look overwhelmed. Like you have like probably a couple projects you got to do something. He's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I'm at practice. And he's like, go home. Go home. He's like, use this time to do what you know that's on your mind. And that was the hardest thing I could say. And I really appreciated Coach Blaney and other coaches that really just took the time to get to know you as a person. Because when you're, an individual athlete, you will push yourself to the max because in the end of the day, it's you versus you. It starts with you and ends with you. So if you want to do the thing, you're going to find a way. If you want to slack off, it's going to show on the track. So, yeah, I would say the whole emotional balance and just those ups and downs, the roller coasters, and that was probably the hardest thing, but it definitely made me stronger in the end.
Okay. Now, thank you for that. Mister, what about you? What was that one hardest thing about being a college athlete?
I would have to say probably doing football camp. Whenever we had camp, we had 2 days, and even one particular place I was at, which I won't say the name. We actually had 3 days, which I thought was highly, highly illegal. But those camps, man, 2 days, 3 days, during the season, real 2 days and real 3 days, back to back to back to back to back to back, which they no longer do anymore. Have to be be the hardest part. But and then with that, just actually, doing the sign, we had curfew, and anybody that got caught, being out, if a coach caught you being out past curfew, it was lights out. It was over. And so, the camp.
Okay. I think for me, and Lauren kind of hit on this, and we all kind of talk about the different things, but it's balancing it, right? You're a young person still, right? We want to say college athletes are adults, but in reality, you're still a kid. Right? And you're balancing growth of your mind, right? The growth of your body. You're balancing the emotions of your friendships and relationships, the sports, the school. You're challenged in ways you can't imagine, physically, mentally, emotionally. And it's trying to find like that balance, right? Because you have a lot of people cheering for you. You have a lot of people cheering against you. Add that into the circumstances you're under. I put a lot of pressure, on people, and I'm glad now, so many years later, they're taking the mental health of the athletes so serious because it really wasn't like that for some of us. I would say for myself, definitely the hardest thing was balancing all of that because for all the good that you did, there's still people saying, "Oh, he's on the team but he ain't playing. He's on the track, he's not contributing." Well, no, I am. Everybody has an important role to play. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But balancing all of that, so still growing human being. You're trying to balance the good, bad, and ugly of what you're battling within yourself and on the outside forces. Definitely make it a challenging time as a college athlete. So the next one, Lando, we're going to go to you because I know everybody's going to have a unique take on this. College athletics though can take a toll on your body, and Lauren kind of talked about this, and we've all dealt with injuries and things like that. So, how is your body held up, truthfully, from playing college sports, and then just the wear and tear of injuries and things like that? Are you as healthy as you have been, or is there things that have limited you because of injuries later on in life? Go ahead, Lando.
I'm gonna be honest. God bless. I never, in 14 years of football, I started when I was 8 years old, contact football, played the whole way through. I never went to the trainer. Never had an injury that was serious.
Okay.
And I'm still holding up pretty good. Trying to 34 now, but definitely trying to keep it going. But yeah, I was definitely blessed that my body withstood the hits and all that stuff, man, because it was no joke back then. So.
And I will attest for everybody that's listening, Lando Landowski, I always say this, is one of the toughest people I've ever played college sports with or track. So, Lando, I've told you this before, you have all my respect in the world. You're one of the toughest. human beings I ever have played college football with. So, that's a testament to you. You're one hell of a tough guy. So I just want you to know that for yourself. So Dan, how about you? How has your body held up from the injuries and stuff over time?
So ironically, I had more injuries in my basketball career than I did in my football career, all the way through. When you go back, it's insane. But I've had broken bones, I had stitches, staples, you name it, all in basketball. Maybe it was a sign that I should have just played defensive end the whole time. But at the same, somebody's got to bang on the rebounds on the boards. It was. I mean, I had a couple broken bones here or there, but nothing that was crazy. Like most of it was hand or arm. I never had an knock on a lot of wood. I never had an ACL, a leg, or anything that really hampered the career. I had thigh bruises and helmets in the side and all that. I was a lower back. I had a 15-yard crackback penalty where I was blindsided and got a helmet right in the lower back, and I still deal with pains from that. So it lingers. Requires me to take steps to make sure that my lower back stays in good shape. But right. 5 to 70 pounds, depending on the day, lighter than my playing weight was. So I will encourage any athlete who possibly listens to this that when you're done, especially if you were an O-line, D-line, linebacker, tight end, any position that wasn't a microphone with yardage and passes and catches, try to get yourself to where you get a routine or you get something where you can, shed that weight. It doesn't happen overnight. Most of us have an arc in there somewhere, but you get to a point where, it helps. So it took me several years to learn that message. So I'm certainly no walking savant of Lauren's kinesiology degree, or health sciences degree, but found a routine. And I think when you become that older adult and you have kids and things, you start to realize, like, you know what, we got to be there for our kids. If you become a parent or you become a spouse to someone else, it's find that equilibrium. So I don't bench what I used to. I don't squat what I used to, but I definitely feel better after I got rid of a lot of that weight.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. How about you, Danny? I know you're relatively young to the game, but have you dealt with any injuries or, the fallout of those injuries in your past couple of years from graduating?
When I was in junior college, I tore my MCL and I sprained my meniscus. Then I was playing both sides of the ball. I was going from corner to wide receiver. You know how you get breaks when you splitting reps with first and second team. So we'll go first team defense. I get 3 reps on defense, and then I get 3 reps on offense. And it was going back and forth, and I guess my body just got fatigued, and I went to make a normal, usual cut, something I do every day, stick my foot in the ground and go back the opposite direction. And then it just gave out on me, and one of my big 6'4", 300-something pound D linemen fell on top of me. I think back then I was maybe like a $145. And when I was preparing for the NFL draft, when I was training down here at Bomarita Sports facility down in Davie, I discovered I had an aggravated hamstring, and then I had a slight tear in my right shoulder and my rotator cuff, and then I had a pinched nerve in my right wrist. So I was, and I'm trying to do the 225 bench press. And
my God.
And I'm trying to run a 40 because I'm not trying to sit out on any other things that we doing in a facility when teams come in and agents come in, and I'm trying to do the bench press and I'm trying to run a 40 and I'm trying to do the broad jump and the 3-cone drill and all these different sorts of things. And and kind of find out again, I'm just like, man, and then I had to sit out on a bowl game. I actually played in the bowl game with my torn rotator cuff. It was the FCS Bowl down in Daytona at Bethune-Cookman University. I played in that with a torn rotator cuff. At the time, I just thought my shoulder was hurting. Like, I was like, I get over it. And then it came to a point where I went to the facility. I was starting my draft prep. And then before you start your draft prep, they check you for injuries and stuff like that. And then they put you on this machine where they learn your body. They do certain movements with you. And I couldn't move my arm past this height. I couldn't move my arm. And then it was like, oh, yeah, man, you might have a tear. And my heart just dropped. And I'm just like, this is the end of my NFL career. And I'm like, I haven't even started. So, that was my whole goal, was to make it to the NFL from a Division III level. And then I remember getting that email getting the email to my phone saying that I was a draft prep scout, and I just went ballistic. I might have ran out of class. Probably. I might.
Man.
All right. So how about you, Lauren? You kind of hinted on it with your ankle, but how has your body held up from your injuries and wear and tear of track and field? Because people that don't know, I mean, track athletes sometimes they're the most hurt athletes, right? Because of all the pounding we've taken, running, back, shins, ankles, things like that. So I know you're really in fitness now, and you're still super active with everything you do. But how has your body held up from D1 track?
I just accept for however I feel that day, to be totally honest. I don't necessarily know what it feels like to be pain-free, but I just look at it as, take on the day, seize the day, make things better, not worse. And, whatever cards you're dealt, just try to get a better hand. And I can tell you that based off of my college career, I had a lot of injuries. I had the privilege to be everyone's case study in the athletic training facility. So all the athletic training students would ask me to be their case study representative. So I was getting asked questions about, okay, you had an injury here. What about this? What did happen? Then whatever. And so I had semi herniated discs in my back. I had fracture boots. I've had 2 rotator cuff surgeries. To kind of give you guys a background of my athletic performance at East Carolina University, my freshman year, I was a All-American track and field athlete, an All-American javelin thrower. I made it to NCAA's last round, broke the school record my freshman year. And I made it to Eugene, Oregon, and I was very close to actually qualifying for the Olympic trials my freshman year of college. And that summer, I really took training very, very serious. I went back to Hermitage, Pennsylvania, and I was training really heavily hard to the point that I was overtraining. And once I got back to my university my sophomore year, that sophomore preseason, I guess I did a little too much during the summertime that my body couldn't hold out. And that's when I had the back issues, the ankle issues, and I was able to heal myself that upcoming winter. And then sadly, that upcoming spring, first practice out there, I threw a couple throws, and that's where my rotator cuff went. So I had back-to-back shoulder surgeries. So there was this huge article that my university actually put out that it was like Labarski's back, senior year, finally coming back for her title. And after I had 2 shoulder surgeries, they wrote this article saying that I was going to make it back to Eugene, Oregon. And sadly, you got to be careful what you wish for, because all I wanted to wish for is just to hit 50 meters. And at my regional meet in Kentucky, I actually hit the 50-meter sign 3 times in a row out of bounds. So my ticket that was going to get punched to that last round to take me back to where I was my freshman year, sadly was kind of cut short. But I could say that it has given me the mindset that I can do anything that I put my mind to, even if I say hit 50 meters out of bounds. But now I do. I take care of my body now. I play competitive beach volleyball. I'm actually competing in a professional event this upcoming weekend in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So I still train. I do functional fitness, but I can only, double down what Dan said. It's just shedding some of the weight, really focusing on just really, giving yourself that TLC, taking the time that you have it. Just because we get older and we have less time being an adult doesn't mean that you shouldn't take the time to really just continuing to build your body. But it's never going to be like we were when we were in college, when we were 20 years old. Now I'm 31, so I call 30 something. But I could say that, whatever you set your mind to, you're going to become. So you're a product of your environment and also your mindset.
No, thanks for sharing that. How about you, Master? What was what was some of the injuries that you dealt with, or I guess the fallout from that? How are you feeling, now? I know you're the most senior person on this call, so but how have you held up over time?
I'll tell you what, the worst thing that I had, man, it was actually my junior year. I had concussion. I had caught 2 concussions in 1 week. And this was during practice. I'm talking about just regular, nothing extravagant, just a regular old hit. The first one, you kind of just like, you know what I'm saying? You walk back to the huddle. And the second time I went to I went to get the ball, quarterback hand me the ball, going through the hole, and just a regular old boom, you know what I'm saying, hit. I get up, and I'm like, I can't believe this boy. I forgot the boy name that hit me. I mean, he was a young class freshman, I think, too, freshman or sophomore. This is a regular hit, and I'm like, what in the world? So I'm walking back to the huddle, man, and then all of a sudden I had to go down on one knee, and Marco, that was our trainer at the time, he just came over. He came over. He's like, "Mister, you're done." He said, he asked me. He said, "Did you have a concussion earlier this week?" I said, "No." I said, "No, Marco, I didn't. I didn't have no concussion." But he went, man, and he evaluated me and set me out. Man, I ended up missing. I ended up missing the rest of the season. This was early in the season. This was like week 2. So I missed like 9 weeks. And anybody that has a concussion in football, I'm telling you right now, if they come back in 2 weeks or 1 week, they're freaking something. They're lying. All right, because it's not possible. And believe you me, I tried to come back every single week, but every single week, them symptoms started coming on. I got sensitive to light. I had to wear sunglasses 24/7. Couldn't go to class anymore because of the class and the light and everything. I mean, this is a regular conversation. I couldn't even stand it to hear a regular conversation, because it was just so loud. It was just so intense. And so I was like, I had to stay in the room in dark. Probably almost like 18 hours out of the day or something. When I went out, I had glasses and hoodies and hats because it was just so intense. And now every once in a while, now like those symptoms. I'm 48 right now, and so right now, you get those, you get those concussion symptoms because sometimes I have stutterness and never really dizzy, not so much dizziness, but sometimes just forgetfulness of just little small things, man. So you just have to be aware and just just know your body, be aware. Sometimes you have to get checked with that stuff. So for me, it was just those concussions.
Absolutely. And I'm going to kind of go down my injury list here. Lauren, you want to talk about a case study of freak injuries. So, Dan, I think you'll find it hilarious. Lando was there with me, some freak injuries I had. Dan, you'll get a laugh at this. I sprained both my thumbs, dislocated both my pinkies, had a hematoma in my left elbow, separated my AC joint in my left shoulder, sprained my right meniscus. Still have shin splints to this day. I have degenerative arthritis in my back because of track and football running at the same time. I had hematoma and bursitis in my hip. I think I have 2 undiagnosed concussions during my time. So as I got older, right, and my body is changing, you're talking about adapting. I can't squat no more. Can't do regular bench press no more. Just too much pain, too much pressure. So what I focused on, right, is like power walking, doing the elliptical, light impact stuff. I do a ton of stretching, and I do a lot of stuff with just body weight exercises and dumbbells because my body cannot clean and jerk no more. I'm 38. I cannot squat no more. My back is through. Like it is through. And when it flares up, you will know what back pain can be really debilitating, take over your whole existence. So wouldn't trade it for the world. But I definitely taken a bruising too with that. So next one, though, we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this one. Besides the sport you competed in, you can only pick one sport. What do you think truly is the hardest sport to compete in at the college level? What is that one sport besides what we did that you think is the hardest college sport to be really, really good at? Lando, what do you think? It just can't be football for you, Lando. It can be anything else.
Okay. I'm gonna go with baseball. I'm gonna go with being a catcher in baseball.
Okay. How about you, Dan? What do you think? You did football and basketball, but what's the next hardest sport you think for somebody to be really, really good at the college level?
Golf.
Okay. How about you, Danny? What do you think?
Lacrosse.
Okay. Lauren, what do you think?
Honestly, I would say football. I dated the starting quarterback in my university, and just seeing all the stuff that he had to do behind the scenes and just the film study, and just learning the playbook and like all this other stuff. It's whole another sport in itself. And I give a lot of respect to that.
Okay. What about you, mister? What do you think that one next hardest sport is besides, you did football and track. What do you think in college?
Lacrosse.
So I'm going to go kind of what nobody said. I'm going to go wrestling. If you want to be a college wrestler and you want to be a good college wrestler, you have to have the toughest mental capacity ever. Because you got to starve yourself, you got to run, you got to train. And when you're, 21 years old, 22 years old, and the heavier you are with that, and you're going up against grown men who want to throw you up in the air and body slam you on your head, put you in an arm lock that you can't imagine. I think it's wrestling. And I just think, especially the Division I wrestlers who are all Americans and national champions, to me, that is the hardest thing about being a college athlete. That makes the toughest mental aspect of all college sports. That's just my opinion on that. So one of the next ones I want to ask you guys, and I think we'll have a little bit of fun on this. What is the advice you would give your younger self right now, talking to them about when you were playing a college sport? So what's that, just a little bit of advice that you can look at yourself now at your ages, look at yourself at 18 or 19 and go, let me give you this advice. So what would you say that would be, Lando?
Do not drink alcohol.
Okay.
You booze, you lose. You booze, you lose.
Okay, that's fair. What would you say, Dan? Dan, are you there?
The most important, so I'll go a different route. I'll go going to college, right? So the most important thing that you can do is commit yourself to a program and a coach that you have the best relationship with. There's a lot of great places you can go. There's a lot of great aid packages you can get. There's a lot of great deals you can get now. But you've got to have that rock solid relationship. And if you cut the corner on that because you take it because of what the name of the place is or the location or something, and you cut a corner for it, right? You got to find out what program really wants you. And I think that's applicable across multiple sports, right? Like you may choose to go somewhere that surprises somebody, but that coach and that program, they want you. And that if they want you that bad, they're going to invest in you and motivate you to be the best version of your something because you're chasing it. You're going to probably find yourself all of a sudden the first moment adversity hits, it's going to feel a little bit lonely.
Okay. No, that's solid. Danny, what would you say? What would you tell your younger self, right now, with some advice?
Honestly, man, I would tell my younger self to just slow down and just enjoy being there. I was I was so self-driven on, I want to make it to the NFL. I was just so driven. I sacrificed a lot of me time. I sacrificed a lot of girlfriend time until my relationship just went down the drain. I was watching film, taking notes on film, hit the weight room extra, go running on the track extra, come back, take a shower, eat something, and then I'm watching film again, and I'm calling my teammates in the room, making them watch film, and And it was just really no time for social life. You know, I was all film, learning plays. So I sacrificed a lot of good relationships. So I probably just tell my younger self, man, just slow down and enjoy the moment and just enjoy being there.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Lauren? What would you tell your younger self right now?
So I would say that in the end of the day, it's a moment in time and you have to enjoy yourself. And sometimes we overwhelm ourselves more to the point that we make more out of the situation than it needs to be. And reflecting back on the moments that I was, let's say, the most stressed out in my life, it's simply just another day. It's another opportunity. Our grades don't define you. Your performance doesn't define you. And, you know, it's a process. It's not the end goal, even though some people do, you know, professional athletics or whatever. But I would say, like, just to take it easier on myself. I really was hard on myself. And I feel like would overwhelm myself into more of an issue than it actually was. So I would just tell myself to give myself grace and, you know, laugh a little bit more because at the end of the day, it's really not that serious.
That's valid. That's valid. How about you, mister? What would you give your younger self advice right now?
I was, make sure you stay focused, and for whatever you do not miss that game. And I will have to go in detail about that particular time on another show.
Okay. You know, I think what I would tell myself is when things got hard, don't be hard on yourself. Right? You're still a young person. You're still growing. These are going to be things that you're going to learn that the bad times will make you a tougher person later on in life to get through those bad times. So, you know, don't be too hard on yourself. Just get through the bad times because you'll come out a better person, is what I would say. So we have just a couple other ones here. I want to get through this with you guys. Lando, we're going to start with you on this. So what is the one thing, the just one thing you learned or you heard a phrase or something like that that you have taken with you since being in college? What's that, like, one thing that somebody told you or you experienced or a phrase you heard that you've taken with you in life since you graduated? So, Lando, what would you say that is?
I would say the one thing that I learned through the 4 years of school were listen and just keep your mouth shut. And the coaches kind of taught me this a little bit, you know, and just do what you're told, you know, and trust the system. So.
Okay. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, this is a quote that I had first became kind of going back the clock a little bit, the Sandusky Penn State scandals that happened, Joe Paterno in that era. The quote that came across at the time that I think still is true. It was said before that moment, but it was the first time I kind of heard it. It was, adversity causes some people to break and other people to break records. And when I first heard that quote, I thought, you know, it was referencing some tough situations, tough moments in life. But I think there's a lot of truth in that. I referenced adversity in my last comment, right? Where, you know, part of that 18 to 22-year-old, 24-year-old, I think we've got some college athletes now that are on their 9th year of eligibility, thanks to red shirts and COVID and everything else they can get now. But we got some elder statesmen in different sports. But you know, that adversity that you come across, especially in that 18 to 22-year bracket of age windows that most college athletes are in, young men, young women, they're going to go through it. And it's maybe the first time they've ever gone through it, because the first time you step on a D1, D2, D3, NAIA, you name it, practice field of any, you've come there from somewhere where you may have been that guy or that girl, and you were you were somebody that pretty much showed up and held court wherever you'd been prior, right? In a lot of cases. And so you show up, you step on a field, and you're like, I've arrived. And all of a sudden, you're 18 years I'll pick on football. You walk up there as a, 18, 19-year-old, strong side defensive end. You're like, I'm about to show them what it's all about. And that 23-year-old man you're lining up across from, that's 310-pound left tackle, all of a sudden just buries your ass. You have arrived to the real league now, folks. Like, there are men on this field. And so I'll never forget the first time that happened to me. We were playing UW. I got to give you a quick story, Fitty. I'm sorry, but we were playing UW Stout, which is one of the good UW programs up in Wisconsin. And as in the league, Whitewater, other places, they're good. And UW Stout, this again, turning the clocks back a little bit here for you young kids on the call, but there was a running back who was an absolute twin to Steven Jackson. And Steven Jackson is the running back from the league this summer. But Steven Jackson was a great running back. And they had a running back who was a doppelganger to Steven Jackson, and he played like Steven Jackson. And I got absolutely run over by Steven Jackson's doppelganger at UW Stout. I mean, just trucked like no other. I had him dead in my sights. I'm like, just about to. I mean, I could hit. I like to hit, right? And I was just ready to level him. And that dude would just looked at me, and he's lowered that shoulder and just truck stick. It was like straight out of Madden, where you watch a dude just get rocked. And I was like, man, we are not in Kansas anymore, Toto. I was a sophomore in college, and I rocked.
Oh man.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Danny, what about you on this one? What's that one thing that's just stuck with you? A phrase, anything? What stuck with you since you graduated from Bethany?
The one thing that stuck with me was we was in practice one day, and it was after my brother passed away. I had just left out of Coach Upton's office, and I stopped in Coach Bill Garvey's office, and then we was talking here and there, and then Coach Garvey's, he was an honest guy, and I outside of coaching, I love the way he carried himself as a man, and especially Coach Arnold. Coach Arnold ended up walking himself in the office, and one thing Coach Garvey told me was he was like, Danny, unfortunately, I don't come from that area, down in Miami. I didn't grow up like that, with all the gun violence and stuff. And he just told me, he was like, I don't know what I can tell you. And, I told him, Coach, I just want to play ball. I told him, I just want to play football. I just want to make it to the NFL. And Coach Arnold stopped me, and he was like, just be a man of your word. And that always stuck with me, and carried me to almost getting my lights knocked out. You were at the game. I think you were. We played your signings down in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah. I was still coaching with you guys. Yep.
Yeah, and then I was telling I was at nickel, and then I knew I was faster than Phil, and I told Phil, because he was a linebacker at the time. I told Phil, say, hey, look, this guard's finna pull. I said, I don't mind taking on a guard, brother, but you got to make that tackle. And I just knew I could beat Phil. I just knew I could beat him to the outside. I just told him, look, I just need you to make that tackle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mind taking on him, but this guard finna pull. I need you to make that tackle. And the play ended up happening. I ended up trying to beat the guard to the spot. I tried to get him before he got going. And big fella was already going, So I think that's being a man of your word, that's especially when you playing football, man, and you got your brother playing next to you, when you playing for the person next to you. And, Coach Mister said it earlier, you going through all the sweat, the blood, and the tears through camp, fall camp, spring camp. You doing all the lifting and running, and you going through all that. And then with all that working out and stuff, sometimes it all boils down to one moment. You know what I'm saying? And that one moment can come down to you being a man of your word. If you supposed to feel that AGAP.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Lauren, how about you? What's that one thing, that phrase, or that whatever it may be that stuck with you since you've finished college sports?
Well, I have kind of like a lump sum of three phrases. Be a creator. Yeah, everybody has the same opportunity. You know, we all were freshmen. We all came in as being the bottom of the totem pole back again, like at that time. So being a creator, leave your legacy. You know, that was like a big one for me. And I just knew that I just really wanted to be a standout person for myself. It's not a popularity contest of who is better than who. I just really wanted to make a name for myself. And, you know, I just knew that if I focused on myself, I would leave whatever I had, and that would be my legacy. And I'm a strong believer in mind over matter. If it doesn't matter to you, you don't mind. And if you think about it, so whatever is coming to mind, and if you don't matter, you'll do it because you don't mind. So whatever it is, it'll get done. If it's waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning for weights, if it's staying late for practice, if it's stretching, if it's, you know, let's say taking some really healthy protein shake to the mouth after a practice that tastes like crap. You know, whatever you got to do, like if it doesn't matter to you, you don't mind, you'll get it done because, you know, that the higher power thinking, I think really what got me through my career and is what has created me into who I am today. And, you know, I've set records within my own professional career, you know, within track and field, and I still have records to this date. I still actually have the track and field javelin record at my university, so it's still staying on.
Wow. Congrats.
And at my high school, I still have my high jump record there too. But you know, just leaving your mark wherever you go, and just really just knowing that whatever comes to your mind, if it doesn't matter to you, you'll get it done. So.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's great. Mister, how about you? What's the one thing that stuck with you the whole time?
You know, the one thing when I was at Alabama A&M, and you know, you talking about all of us know, some of us played D1, some of us said to ourselves we were D1 players, and even when I was at Alabama A&M as a freshman, starting as a true freshman, you know, I was all about going D1 and being D1. And like, you know, Danny was saying something earlier, it made me think about my freshman year or my younger years in college. You know, one of my coaches, he came over to me, and this is Ernest Wilson. He said, "Man, you trying to make this a business," and a lot of time, that's, you know, as young guys or young ladies in our profession, playing sports, you know, we want to make something a business because we trying to get to a professional setting or a professional level. You know, everything we do, like we talk about the relationship, not having time for this, not having time for our loved ones, or doing our work as best as we can. You know, all we think about is the end game, but don't understand the process that we have to go through to get to that end game. And he was like, "Stop making this a business." You know what I'm saying? You know, he would tell me, "Stop making this a business. You know, take care of today, and tomorrow will take care of itself." And that's one thing he kept telling me: take care of today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. So that really stuck with me, I mean, throughout my whole time. And then real quick, my last one is with my running back coach, Coach John General Montgomery, crazy coach, but love him to death to this day. You know, and as a freshman, you can do silly things. So one day, I'm in my dorm room, and I get a knock on my door. You know, I'm thinking it's a player or somebody. And I open that door, who it is? It's Coach General John Montgomery, looking dead at me. And all he kept saying was, Mister? And he's just shaking his head like this. And he had a long talk with me that night. I mean, he's at my, you know, in the dorm room, and you know, in my room. And so when I, you know, seeing the coach do that, you know what I'm saying, come to the room to talk to you, lay some wisdoms of knowledge on you, it was really, you know, something else. But just those two things, man, really stuck with me throughout my whole time.
Sure. You know, there's for me, the famous Coach Weaver, who I played under, and Lando played under, and Mr. coached under at Bethany. He said something one time, and taking us through my professional career and when I was a coach at the high school and college level. And he said, in a team, everybody has a role. whether you're the top performer or the best athlete to the worst person that's there. Everybody has a role and you're all equal, because without those roles, there's no team. And make sure you always know that you are appreciated and that you are always seen. So I really took that with me in the workforce and in coaching. Just know that everybody has a role, whether you're the best or the worst. Whatever your role is within that team, embrace it and run with it, because people do see it. People do see it. And then another one, Coach Upton, who a lot of us know on here, he told me the hardest thing to do is get up when you get knocked down, and especially when you have to get up when nobody else is watching. And you'll find out the true testament of yourself with that one. Can you get up when no one's watching when you get knocked down? So the very last one here, and I know it's kind of a long episode, but for all the guests, this will be fun. Outside of your athletic experience though in college, what's that one like memory or one thing you're so grateful for at your time, whether it was at, East Carolina or Bethany or Eureka or, Alabama A&M or Elizabeth City College, whatever it was. What's that one thing that's always like stuck with you? It's like the best memory of your college experience outside of sports. Now I'll let all of you kind of think about this, and I'll answer this one first. For me, it is now be a 38-year-old and being friends with the coaches that I had and getting to know them on a personal level and having them as a confidant and as a mentor and as a friend. Someone like Mr., who I've known for almost 20 years now, now we are friends for this long time. It's a relationships, right? It's relationships of being friends with Lando after all this time. It's having Danny as a player now being friends. To me, the greatest thing was relationships that I gained from it, and the mentorship and the lasting memories. So how about you, Lando?
Fitty, I'm going to go with you on that one, man. You said it the best right there, brother.
Okay, well, I appreciate.
It is about the relationships. Sum it up, man. It's what it's all about. So at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, I appreciate that, Lando. Thanks for backing that up. How about you, Dan? What's that like one great memory from Eureka for yourself or something?
Man, this is pretty random, but sorry, I'm still losing my voice from last week. It was my sophomore fall football season, and we were on a bye week. And at the time, I had attended a wedding for a family friend, and had met on the UIC, University of Illinois Chicago D1 Horizon League at the time program. She was a All-American outside hitter on the volleyball team. Was very, very good. And, I was always a big fan of volleyball for many, many years. And so I dated several volleyball players, and now.
Oh, yeah.
Upstairs. So shout out to my wife. But at the time, we got done with practice, and my girlfriend at UIC was playing at Western Illinois University over in Macomb, Illinois. And so from where I'm at to Macomb, you got to drive a bunch of back roads. And so I had an F-150 extended cab pickup at the time, and I jumped in and I drove like a bat out of hell. I mean, I'm talking hauling ever-loving, straight down the back roads, because I was late, and I could not be late for that match. And I got up. I pulled in, I showered in the locker room. The guys are like, it's a Tuesday night. What on earth are you doing? Like, you're getting all dressed up. They're like, you brought cologne to practice? And so they were all, I was just getting chastised by my teammates. And so I got dressed, I got in the truck, I got over there, and I got when that first set started. So it was a huge victory. I did not get a ticket. I think the statute of limitations had passed on how fast I was driving at this point, but I got there safely, and then I drove back home that night. But at the time, it's still something I'll never forget, because it was a night where it was a bye week. Like, everybody just wanted to get out of practice. Like, we were done. Like, we want to go home, do studies, whatever. Well, that night, everybody wanted to hang out and talk. And I'm like, I'm not looking to talk right now. I got to get to a volleyball match like 2 hours away. So it worked out well in the end. But that is a memory I've taken with me my rest of my. But I'm married up, so my wife's up there. So that story has nothing to do with you, honey.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Danny, how about you? What's that one thing that stood out, with you for the past couple years since you graduated?
Um, One thing that stood out to me was um, I was watching a podcast one day, and then in the podcast, when this was my first year at Bethany, I was watching the podcast, and then within that podcast, a guy said, "Don't allow yourself to be so caught up in someone else's opinion of you that you forget to work on your character." And when he began to go in detail about it, he was just saying that you're too busy and caught up in hearing other people's opinion about you that you want to change this about you and change this about you and be so focused on your profession that you forget to work on the main thing, which is you and your character. And I carried that throughout Bethany, and it landed me to have great relationships with you and other coaches that also coach other sports. I remember I was working out at Bethany, and then the lacrosse coach came over, walking over to me. He was like, "Let me give you a lacrosse jersey for draft day so you can wear it." It just stuff like that. And Coach Arnold and invited me to his wedding. I was at Coach Arnold's wedding. And that's something I thought I would never be able to experience in my 31 years of living. Just being at someone's wedding, especially a guy who I have the utmost respect for, and Coach Arnold. Like, I'm talking about a guy that just didn't teach me football, but a guy that taught me about life. I had different rules and principles of life, and Coach Arnold would be like, "Don't bring that street stuff in my school." And, just learning how to become a young man and learning how to respect myself in today's society. And it eventually carries over, because now I'm a football coach now, and I'm a head coach of girls high school flag football now, and girls are getting scholarships to play flag football now. So now I can carry those same traits and pass that on and instill a little bit of my identity in them, because of the quote that I heard on that podcast from that guy. Don't be so caught up in other people's opinion about you that you forget to develop your character. So,
Okay, no, thanks for sharing that. Lauren, how about you?
I really love that, Danny. That really hit. I appreciate you saying that, because I can really relate to that in so many different ways. But for me personally, I could probably go back to you, Vidi, that the relationships is what it was for me. Like I found my personality start flourishing when I was back in Scott Hall, my first dorm. If there's any East Carolina athletes that are listening to this podcast, good old Scott High School, as we like to call it, where we had all the different kind of sport teams that were all the freshman athletes were at Scott dorm, and we all really got to know each other, and it was super cool because I became friends with the golf team, the swimming team, the football team, the you name it. Like, we all were like a big family in Scott dorm, and we had like a big courthouse, or like a courtyard, so we would all hang out there. We would all do arts and crafts, like other than just sports. It was just such a cool like environment that we had our own, practically like our, as you can call it, the 13th grade. And that was, it was so much fun. And I just found myself really just flourishing and just becoming just like a really just genuine person of wanting to get to know people. And even when I was going into my classes, I found myself just wanting to just interact with people around me, because I feel like sometimes us being all athletes, we feel that, that, as I don't know if anybody used to name like other people that were not athletes, NARPs. I don't know if that's like a new, like a non-athletic regular person. That's what we used to call these people, which I'm so sorry if anybody's like taking this offensively. It's just something that I guess people used to call people. But I would always want to talk to anyone. And so I became really good friends with people in my classes. And it was just so cool to kind of just see how I just evolved as a person of just really wanting to be a good human and just get to know people on a personal level. And because you never know what they're going through, you don't know what they're, dealing with or what they come from or what they can offer, and just adding value as being a person. I feel like that's the biggest thing that I took out of like my college like career, and just the relationships and the interactions. That was the main thing for me.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Mister, how about you round us out on this one? Bring us home.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like everybody said, for me, it's most definitely the relationship that you most definitely build up and have being around athletics. And a couple particular things for me, just real quick. If you would have told me, Mister, you're going to be coaching at in West Virginia at a Division III school, and you're going to come across, you're going to have two roommates, one named Ryan Leib and one named Bunk, a.k.a. Andrew Rossi. And then as I'm sitting in the office, you're going to hear a loud pitched voice, someone introducing themselves to you. How you doing, Coach Mr. Askew? I'm Johnny, 50. And I look up and I say, how you doing, man? You going to be a manager or something? And he ended up playing football, and freaking 50 right there. I'm looking at this kid and I'm like, is this dude really going to play football? And he played football, and he never, ever, ever, ever stop. You talking about somebody that's resilience. 50, this is giving you some extra kudos, man. But, and then you really helped me from a recruiting standpoint, because if you have the strength mentally, and if you physically want to do it, you are going to be successful. And that's one thing that you taught me. I know I never really said this to you, but from a coaching standpoint, how I looked at players, because if somebody want to play, they're going to put the work in. I don't care if you have all the talent in the world or if you had no talent, you are going to be successful, man. So you really helped me in my recruiting when I left Bethany College, man. So just kudos to you, brother. But the relationship, but just getting back to the relationship that I built with you guys at Bethany College, and even with the relationship that I built up at Savannah State and up in Minnesota, it's really unmatched, because you just never know who you are going to come across, and the type of information and knowledge that somebody can really, put upon you. So for me, it's a relationship. I love it. Wouldn't trade it, nothing in for the world, man.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Coach, and thank you for those kind words. I was a little bit different looking when I was coming in at 19, right? I was like 6'3", 160, maybe. So probably didn't look like much like a football player back then. But for all of our listeners out there, I think this is a great episode to really, listen to and dive into and hear what we're saying, right? This is our story. Retired college athletes, people coming from different parts of the country, people coming from different backgrounds, going to different schools, talking about their perseverance and their memories. I think all of us would agree be left with no regrets. That's the main thing. You have to leave with no regrets. Give it everything you have until you have nothing left to give. Because when you have that feeling in you that you have nothing left to give, it's time to ride off into the sunset. You've accomplished everything that you wanted. All of our younger listeners out there who are looking at schools, definitely take everything we said into consideration, especially what Dan was saying about the relationships and buying into the schools. Right? When times get tough, don't give up. Hear what Danny said. Hear about Lauren's resilience on coming back from injuries. Hear what Lando said, right? Be all in, love those practices. Practices get hard, right? They get hard and they get monotonous. Hear what he said. And, listen to what everybody said about relationships too. Or the funny stories about, driving a pickup truck on the back roads, right? Those are memories that'll stay with you for a lifetime. And to all that people who are post graduation and have done college sports, but I hope that you found some comfort in this, knowing that there's other people out there that went through the same things that you did. To all of our guests, Matt, Mr. Lauren, Dan, and Danny, thank you so much for joining for this episode. This is wonderful. Again, this is our story, retired college athlete episode of the Ride Home Runs podcast. As always, be a friend and tell a friend about the episode. And if you don't like the episode, tell them anyways, because I bet they like it just because you did it. This is Fitty signing off, and we will see you next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by W Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.